Hi everyone. Now welcome to your complete guide on using the FortiGate dashboards and monitors. Okay. Now in this tutorial, we will go through or walk towards the dashboards and the monitor section, okay, of the FortiGate firewall, and understand how to effectively monitor the entire network security using some of the most powerful tools which you have on your FortiGate firewall. Okay. Now, to understand or to give you a complete picture of what we are going to talk about in this particular video. See, first is we will understand how to navigate the FortiGate dashboards. Okay, there are multiple dashboards that you can create. There are multiple monitors and tools that you can use or the widgets you can use. How do we go about it? Okay, that's one. Second is what we call it as setting up and customizing monitors. Okay. Third, tips for effective network monitoring. See, I'll tell you the reason why these 3 points I've taken up. The reason is monitoring and dashboard is something which is the least focused, but this is one of the most important, feature set of a firewall. Just by looking into a dashboard, just by looking into the monitoring of the tools, you should be able to figure out what's wrong onto your network or on your firewall or maybe in the entire infrastructure. Okay. Only a person who is knowledgeable enough to understand and derive information from the dashboard, only that guy would be able to do it. This video is exactly for that purpose. You will be able to go through the dashboards, understand which widget is for what purpose, what is the use case, and if in case there is any anomalies or uncertain behavior, we will be able to identify those. Okay, that is the three things that we will be taking care today itself. Okay, now this lab is basically you can set up in your own laptop as well. This is basically for NEC 7, but let's power on one of the device and I'll make you see how the dashboard basically looks like. 1 second. Okay. All right. Now see, this is the dashboard of one of the FortiGate firewalls over here. Okay. Now, what we have to understand, the reason I've taken this specific firewall is because it has a lot of dashboards and widgets which is included into it and gives you a lot of information about what each widget signifies and what is the use case of it. Okay. Now, first thing first, what do we have over here? System information, right? So system information is nothing but the a high level information about what your product is, what firmware it has, what mode it is on, what is the time, when was it powered on, and what is the time till now. And if in case there is a public IP, what is that IP? Okay, so you can get all those details over here, the serial number, the firmware version that you are running. Okay, so all this information would be available to you. Now, the next thing that you will be able to see over here is called as security fabric. Now, in the security fabric, this is a very big topic, by the way. But just to give you an understanding of what this basically is, even if for somebody who doesn't have any information about this, security fabric is a place where you would be able to see all your Fortinet products in one place. It could be a manager, it could be an analyzer, it could be a FortiAP, it could be a FortiSwitch, okay, it could be a FortiGate firewall, it could be any other device as well. So fabric connectors is basically as in what are you connecting with, the logs or sandbox or a Forti client AMS, Forti Deceptor, central management, which is the Forti manager, and there are so many other devices that you would be able to see. Okay. Yeah, Forti mail, Forti NDR, and then if you click on the show topology, it will basically give you a list of the entire infrastructure with all the devices of of your network. Okay, how do we get there? See over here in the security fabric, if I click on this, it will basically take you over here, security fabric, and then you have the topology section. In this topology, you would be able to see the entire infra that you have. Okay, now moving on to the next one, which is the CPU. So CPU basically gives you information about the percentage, which is 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and the time frame. Okay. The time frame basically talks about what was the time when the CPU was nil and to what time it actually went to certain utilization. For us, it is somewhere, I think 25% maybe of use case, and it is has gone down. The peak has gone down, and then slowly it is moving up. Okay. Next one is the FortiView sessions. This is about the number of sessions which is working right now and who is on the top. So if you click on now, um, it will basically take you over here to the option of where you can see all this information. Okay, it's just a small window. If I click on expand, it is going to, take you to the FortiView sessions. And over here, you will have information about which device, what MAC address, what is the IP address, what is the destination, application used, protocols, and all the other details. Okay. Now, over here, what you have to understand is that there are certain information when you see over here, you can see that 192.168.20.2. Okay. This IP address is basically trying to connect to 8.8. Now, we all know 8.8 is a public DNS server, right? So it's going out on UDP protocol. Destination is 53, of course, and it's a 266 bytes of information which is being sent over. So probably a DNS query. Okay. And this is how it is. Basically, this is like a real time and real time or live information about the devices or the IP address which is going out and what are they connecting to. Okay. If you click on FortiView, I mean, click on this back icon, you will come back to the dashboard. Okay. Now, one thing more before I move ahead a little bit. See, do you see this? Do you see this section? This section is called as your dashboard. Okay. And this section is basically your monitor. Okay. And this is dashboard. Right. So dashboard basically means a page, an empty page where you can add widgets. What are widgets? These are called widgets. Okay. Application bandwidth, multiple locations, stacked information. So these are widgets which basically gives you different information depending on what is your use case. There could be a project where, let's say, application is not being used or application control is not being used. In that case, this doesn't matter. Okay. So let's say another project, your security fabric is not being configured. So this widget doesn't matter. So you can delete them, remove them, and maybe use widgets which is more relevant in your case, right? Moving ahead. See, major issues which comes up with respect to understanding or reading the widgets is when you look into a widget, let's say the application bandwidth, and we can see that, okay, there is an inbound section, then there is an outbound section, okay? And with this inbound and outbound section, there are certain values associated, okay? Now, when we say there are certain values associated with this, we have to understand what this basically means, okay? If it is inbound 959 kbps, and then there's an out of 113 kbps, what this basically means, right? Now, what needs to be done is over here that if you look onto the next or to the extreme right side, you will see information about HTTP browser, SMB, SSL TLS, Ask FM, and so much more. Okay. So everybody has a different color, and then same color is being represented over here. Okay. So this representation of the color basically tells you that, okay, which application is being used. All right. Now, if you just hover over onto this particular side, it will give you a small pop-up, and in this pop-up, it will also tell you that what exactly is the communication happening and for which application. So SSL, you can see this is quite less communication. There's no LDAP as such. Okay. At this moment of time. So at this moment, at this time frame, there was no communication for the LDAP. Okay. Now, if you just quickly check which one is the highest, so we can see SMB. Okay, at 87 kbps. So we know that, okay, some kind of communication or some kind of copy pasting onto the network or onto the system is happening, because that is where SMB works, right? So this is how you read the widget. And do you understand that, okay, which particular application is consuming what kind of bandwidth and at what time it is being consumed as well? Okay, a lot of times your problems and challenges would be on the basis of time, that okay, at on 15th May at 7:40, there was a spike, or something broke, or there was a network issue, or something. So in that case, you need to see for that particular time frame and then see what is happening for that particular application. Okay. Right. Now, same over here, you can understand the sessions as well. Now, it's a pretty small widget. So let me see if I can how do I, it's supposed to give me that option. Second, it's not giving it for some reasons. Give it a 12 hours. Yeah, not giving too many widgets. So basically what it says is that if I filter for 1 minute or 10 minutes or 30 minutes or 1 hour, 12 hours or 24 hours, it is going to give me the amount of sessions which has gone through the FortiGate firewall. So if I take up 1 minute, okay, we can see some information over here with respect to the pink, and then we have a little bit of dark navy blue and then a light blue. So it says that CPU utilization was this much at this moment of time. SPU. Now, SPU, we talk about this in greater details in the course itself, but SPU is nothing but your chips, the hardware chips which is being used, or ASIC, 40 ASIC chips. Okay. This is in another, the full form basically is security processing unit. So the security processing is handling these many sessions. And then there is an N turbo. Again, this is a 40 ASIC chip, which is handling 20 sessions of that particular time frame. Okay. If I, let's say, take this up to 1 hour, then we have about 500 sessions. Okay. A total of 583 sessions. How much percentage is being handled by the SPUs, and how much is being handled by the N turbo? Same if I go to 24 hours. See, you can see there's a blank over here, right? This means that the firewall at that moment of time was down. It was not powered on, hence all zeros. So just by looking into it, I know that somewhere between, let's take this up. Yeah, somewhere between 12, or 11:56, this device was powered on. And then slowly and gradually, we can see that some information is some sessions have started to gone. In the same manner, you have the memory section. Look at 12, look over here. Very close to it, 23:56, the device powered on. So as soon as it powered on, it's pretty stable over here. At 30%, it's pretty stable, right? You can use this filter again with the respect of how much you want to see, for how much time you want to see, but 24 hours is the maximum. Okay. For the VPN, there is a widget, IPsec widget, and it shows me that, okay, for now, my VPN turns are down. I'm not connecting to the VPN. The CPU section, again, the filter section basically remains the same, but it again tells you that, okay, what is the utilization of the CPU? So there is very minimal utilization. Of course, being a lab device, not much use of it. Yeah. Session rate. Now, what is session rate? Session rate is basically the amount of session which comes per second. Okay. Now, this has become double, so this is not relevant. Let me go to endpoint section. So this is another dashboard that you can see. Yeah, there you go. So see, you have a lot of information about the advanced threat protection. Now, don't get overwhelmed with the numbers that you see over here. One by one, small steps, if you take, you will be able to understand what each of them basically means. So for now, to ensure that you don't get overwhelmed, we'll keep things simple. We'll take small widgets. Okay. So for example, let's take up the log rate. Now we know that log rate as of now, it's as 1 minute, right? So it's kind of a real-time situation that you can see. 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds ago. So we can see that we have a peak of above 150. Okay. So we can see that 187 logs per second is being sent over to your Forti analyzer. Okay. That for a minute. Now, if I take up 10 minutes, well, again, we have something like that. So it's pretty stable at 80, anywhere between the 80. And then right now it's quite low. Okay. For now, if I take this up to, let's say, 1 hour, we can see the dip. Okay. Now, what this dip Means this dip basically means that right now there is very less traffic, going through the firewall, and hence this is the dip. If somebody talks or if somebody tells you that, okay, what's the reason behind all these things and why am I seeing such low logs, then it is not a problem. It is just that the traffic going through the firewall is less. Okay. Same is for the bandwidth as well. Let me see. For example, let's say I want to create, or let's say I want to add a new dashboard. Okay. So I'll click over here. This is the plus icon. You can click on this and then you'll see a dashboard. Okay. So let's say I'll name this up as my dashboard. So it will be a blank screen, won't have anything. Yeah, there you go. So it says my dashboard and it's a pretty blank screen. Here you have to click on add widgets. Okay. Good number of widgets that you have. And from these, you have to, take up any one of the widgets that you want, or which is very much specific in your environment or the project that you are handling. So now we are moving on to the setting up or customizing the dashboard and the monitors in our case, right? So for example, let's say I have what we did not saw. I think routing we did not saw. So let's click on routing. Okay. And then it says that, okay, which kind of routing do you want? I have a static and dynamic. Do you have policy routes? Do you have BGP neighbors? So many things, right? So let's stick to static and dynamic. Let's click on OK. And then back on the screen that you will see that, okay, the widget for the static and dynamic is there. Okay. And then we have some values over here. We'll check those, what are those values and how do we read it? But let's take up something more. Let's take SDO. So it says fabric. Remember, do you want to take the default one? When it says default, it means the one that you're logged into right now. But if you want to specify, then it gives you a list of all the devices which is added onto your security fabric. So if you have a security fabric where you have multiple firewalls, analyzers, managers, then it will give you a list of all those devices. And then you can select one of them. If you click on default, it will automatically take the one which you're logged into right now, which is NGFW. Next generation firewall. If I want to make another one, I can do that as well. But for now, let's take up the default. Let's click on OK. And that is also added. Let's take up another one. CPU disk user, all these we have taken. So see, there is a category of widgets as well. So if you look over here, we have a FortiView category. So anything which is to deal with the FortiView, you'll get information over here. Anything which is to deal with the security fabric section, you'll see over here. Anything which you have to do with the network section, you'll see it over here. Again, for the system, same. And again, for the system or resource usage, same. Then we have the security, so advanced threat protection. I'll take this one. Okay. Either specify or default. And I'll see what I can take. I'll take firewall usage. Okay. For the user authentication, I'll take this up. And I think that's it. So I'll click on close. So I have now couple of information which I can see, and I think for the project that I am handling, let's say this is what is required. So for that case, no problem. I can just look into the routing information. I'll click on expand. Now see, by reading this chart, it says 29. That's the total. But what this 29 comprises of? Okay, this is what it comprises of. So you have connected 20 and 9 static routes. So 20 interfaces are connected and 9 static routes I have created. Okay, so if you look over here, you will see 29 in total, out of which there are interfaces which is being used. So whatever interfaces that are being used, it is going to show up over here. Then it is going to show up all the routes that you place. Okay, so the routes, the default routes, which interface you are using, what is the distance value? Okay, 10, which is by default, and the type, it's a static. Now see, there's a difference over here. You see 10 over here, but it's all zeros next. Why? It connected routes, right? Connected basically means a physical interface is connected directly. So the distance value becomes 0. Why? Because it's a connected physical interface onto the firewall itself. No, nothing can go on top above this. This is the preferred segment if any segment comes up for that. All right. So this is the value that you will be able to see which interface is being used and what is the distance values. As soon as you see a difference in the distance values, quickly check whether it is static, connected, dynamic, or anything else, or maybe another route with the custom AD values. If you scroll down, you will see a lot of other routes as well. Now look again, we have a bunch of routes which is static, and then again back to the connected routes. So all the connected routes you will see it's all zeros, and all the static routes you will see all having 10. Now this 10 is nothing but the default value which you would be able to see for all the static routes. You can of course change them, but only if it is required. Okay. We will go back to the routing. We'll go click on back. So now we know that, okay, out of 29, I know that, okay, 20 are connected routes and 9 are static routes. And which one is having which interface or segments, I've gone through them. How much AD values are being taken, I've gone through. Okay, next. SD-WAN, not being used, hence all zero. Sorry for that. Now, advanced threat protection, you see a big number over here. So let's click on this. Let's see what this basically means. And it says clean. These many files are clean. So FortiGate has scanned a total of 3,613. Sorry, that's a very big number. You have 1,700. So in Indian terminology, it's 36,10,235. But for people who are outside, it's basically in millions. All right, so 3,610,000. So anyways, you have these many values, which is a clean value. 187 are malicious files. Okay. And then you have a FortiScan sandbox, which is configured that you can see as well. Okay. Firewall users, we're not having any of them, so which is why it is on zero. But this is basically how you create a dashboard where you will be able to add the widgets, which is specific to your project or your customer, and then start to go through them. Yeah. Anything else apart from this? Basically, I wanted to show you something. Yeah, sessions. I think I have shown you this. Yeah, we have gone through this. So there was one more thing. There was something which came to my mind. I wanted to show you guys that this is something which I've seen personally in my own experience with different projects. See, when you look into the FortiView sources, right, it is going to list out all the sources which are being, which is kind of, heavy users which you have. Okay. Right now, you can see now, which is real time. If you want to go for the last 1 hour or maybe last 24 hours, you can go for that as well. So let's take up 24-hour section. Okay, it doesn't show me that because it's not being powered on for the last 24. So let's say we'll take a 1 hour. I think it should be able to give us that information, but for some reason it's not showing up. Could be a browser issue as well. 1 second. Let's take up the now one. Maybe the configuration is not configured properly. No worries. I'll take up the one. The reason what I wanted to show you is that regardless of whether it is now 1 hour, 24 hours, or even more than that, what I wanted to tell you over here is that you can filter with respect to the bytes or the bandwidth. So if I click on bandwidth, it is going to show you the one which is being used the highest. So I know right now, just by looking into it, that 10.88.12.99 is the IP address which is using the maximum number of bytes of the data. Okay, so I can see that the byte sent is 993 MB and the byte received is 4.3. Now, just by looking into this, what do I understand? I know that this is not a client PC. It is supposed to be a server or some kind of a server, maybe an FTP server, maybe a web server, something. But it is acting as a service. It is hosting some service, and somebody else is taking or making use of that. Because the number of bytes sent, if you see, the number of sent bytes or upload is more as compared to bytes which is received or download. Okay, and that is one of the reasons why the bandwidth is also on a higher side. This is a server or a server which is hosting some kind of a service which is being used by the users in the network. This is required, or this you should be able to understand. Why do I need it? See, let's say for example, if your customer says, you know what, for the last 1 week or maybe the last 1 month, I need to know who are the heavy users. How will you get to know that information? From over here, you will get to know that information. Okay. But see, over here for a month, you can't do that. 7 days, fine, you can get that information. But if it is more than that, you cannot. So it is still possible for you to do it, but you need to go on to the FortiGate analyzer and you can get that information. Okay. All right. Now, next we'll basically move on to the network. Okay. Network, we'll take up another section or another video on this. But for now, this was more about the dashboard. Okay. I know there will be so many questions that you would have for dashboard, maybe a specific widget, maybe a specific question with the project, anything. Go ahead, put down your question. I'll try to give the answers to it. Or maybe if it requires, then probably a video on it as well. So go ahead, type in your questions, ask questions or problems or doubts that you have with respect to the video, or maybe something in your own specific environment. Okay. Till that time, I'll see you around. Bye-bye.